Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you all for joining us today. Looks like we've got over 60 attendees on the line at the moment. So I will begin because it is 1 o'clock and we'll get into our external briefing for our Safe Work Improvement Program. So thanks all for joining us today. If you don't know me, my name's Alice Platt and I am the Project Manager for our Safe Work Improvement Program, focusing on communications. Welcome. Today I'm speaking to you from our traditional lands of the Gumbaynggirr people. And for today's acknowledgement of country, I would like to use the phrasing from Mark Campbell, our CEO and Managing Director, who recently launched ARTC's Reflect Reconciliation Action Plan. So today we acknowledge the traditional custodians of this country and their deep connection to land, sea, and community. We respect their elders, past and present, who have looked after the land and waters for millennia. In the spirit of reconciliation, we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people. On today's agenda, we're going to be joined, hopefully, by Peter Clements, our Group Executive for Safety and Environment, and he will be discussing with us why improve. We will then cover a SWIP progress update with Richard Clark. Next up, we will hear from Nari Walkinshaw about our latest project for SWIP, which is the standardised application of track protection. We'll follow on from that with an update from Kath and Richard on the provision of our safe working services. And at the end of the session, we will have questions and a wrap up. So if you've got any questions throughout the session, please enter them into the chat function that we have throughout the presentation and we will cover them. Now, just a reminder that this session is being recorded and we'll be emailing out a link to the video post the event. Now, our first up is Peter Clements, who's our General Executive, and he's actually on the road at the moment. So he hasn't been able to join us at this very moment. So Scott, I'm going to ask you, would you like to do the update from Richard first, just to give Peter a moment or two?
Yes, please, Alice. Peter's just texted me, so we'll just try to get him on online at the moment.
Yep, no dramas.
Thank you.
All good. Richard, we're going to pass over to you.
Thank you, Alice, and good afternoon all. My name is Richard Clark and I'm the Programme Manager for the Safe Work Improvement Programme. As Alice mentioned, I'm going to start by providing you with a brief progress update on how we are doing with the programme so far. As you are maybe aware, the SWIP is approaching 2 years through our 3-year programme. We are making good progress on the delivery of the programme, and what you can see on the screen are the activities that you have or will experience this year. The end of June is an important milestone in SWIP's calendar. That is the end date of the Enforceable Voluntary Undertaking, or EVU. We are on target to deliver on time the 9 solutions that form the commitment we made to ONSA. As mentioned before, the SWIP projects continue past June 2022, and the EVU is not the end of our commitment towards reducing train to track worker risk. I will briefly talk about the notice waivers and alerts and the non-technical skills activities. Then I will pass over to Nari, Kath and Richard, who will go into more detail on the other activities. Notice waivers and alerts. When we presented this in November, we said this improved single location for notice waivers and alerts was coming. The web page view you can see on the screen now went live on the 15th of December. Excuse me. This is a landing page which can be accessed from our ARTC website, as you can see on the screen, and then accessed by selecting the notice waivers and alerts in the menu. The web address is also attached on the slide, which will be included when it's sent out later. The intended outcomes of this page was to provide an easily accessible web page that linked our current notices, waivers and alerts. And based on feedback we've received to date, we've also added in additional supporting information that people also say they access at the same time, just to make navigation easier. Next, I will provide a brief overview on our non-technical skills training program. The goal of this project is to improve the way protection is delivered for everyone working in the ARTC corridor, with a clear commitment to safety for all. The aim of this course is not the what of protection, but rather the how you applied the protection. The training program itself provides a formal approach to recognizing and strengthening where necessary, non-technical skills to enhance safety protection outcomes for all. It is an interactive program and to date has received a 98.5% overall positive response so far from the ARTC employees who have attended the training. All active safe working personnel will complete a one-day program. ARTC staff commenced this training in January and is expected to be completed by October 2022. And training for contracting partners will commence September onwards. What are the non-technical skills that we will be training? So ARTC, through the development of this program, identified 6 non-technical skills or behaviours that enhances the ability of all safe working personnel in the application of protection. The program is built around these 6 skills, and the intended outcomes of the course are to develop the safe working personnel's ability to apply the non-technical skills needed to deliver the ARTC protection process, and to enhance their confidence and ability to safely execute protection on the ARTC network. That was a brief overview of the non-technical skills. I will now pass you across to Nari.
Good afternoon, my name is Nari and I'm going to give you an update on the standardised application of track protection project. The project focuses on delivering the enhanced approach for safe working rules for managing the risk of train to track worker interactions across the ARTC network. I'm not a safe working qualified person, which means that I'm not anchored to the past, nor have I preconceptions on what the solution should be. I've had years of experience in managing and applying risk and control concepts. I've worked for ARTC for 15 years as a senior manager in finance at ARTC. And in this role, I've managed many strategic and project deliverables around process management and compliance, often with a focus on developing simple and aligned procedures that ensure compliance with standards, regulation and legislation. To date, the project was joined with an external contractor specialising in human factors, designed to jointly develop the future state and pathway. We're currently working on a framework that confirms ARTC's principles of protection, with an initial focus on simplifying the application of existing safe work track protection rules by clarifying the end-to-end process of track protection using a risk-based approach. Our aim is to set up track workers for success by providing the supporting framework, skills and tools to deliver a safe outcome every time. Well, what have I learned? I've learned that near misses and incidents are regular. There's confusion around the process. There's an over-reliance on experience and previous decision making. Rules and procedures are significant in their volume and complexity, and there's a high likelihood of human error. There is a view that the rules keep me safe, but confusion on how the rules should be applied. Layers and layers of complexity, inconsistency in the application of the rules across the business, focus on the method of protection and getting the work done rather than the protection process and the risk of being in the danger zone, and an over-reliance on administrative controls. There is a natural human tendency to work bottom up using the hierarchy of controls. The track protection method used is not always the right one to manage the level of risk, and the rules, procedures, forms are driving protection behaviour. There are several weak points in the process of track protection. There is not enough focus on the planning process, which if done well, leads to selecting the right protection and aids in managing track protection when there are changes to the worksite. There is an over-reliance on human behaviour to manage train to track worker risk, where technology solutions can be used as a tool to help manage this risk and support areas where it's impossible to eliminate the potential for human error. At present, we are working on the design of the first stage, creating a standard end-to-end process map, and it is really important that we get this framework suitable for implementation by the frontline. We have been working closely with these end users, utilising people-centred change management, engaging through many conversations with end users and safe working and rules specialists. We've used co-design workshops with the frontline to start developing the framework for the consistent process of track protection. We are working with a comprehensive range of stakeholder groups internally, and we're getting closer to bringing the framework for external discussion and learning. I attended the RISB Rail Safety Conference this month, and it's apparent that there are many rail organisations on similar, while different pathways, and there are a lot of learnings of what has worked well and what hasn't, as you have faced improving track protection. We would be interested in learning from you and having those really important conversations as a participant in the rail industry as we work through simplifying, unifying and optimising our track protection processes. We will reach out to you when the time is right. We know our desired outcome will not be achieved quickly, but it is really important work in reducing the risk of human being struck by rail traffic through a risk-based system that is designed to reduce human error and ensure our people go home safely every day. We are investing in ensuring this project is delivered to completion. We will keep you updated on our progress. I'll hand over to Kath now, who's going to talk about the provision of our safe working services.
Thanks, Alice. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to give a quick update on where we are with Project A, which is our provision of safe working services, and in particular our self-performers. Next slide, thanks, Alice. So we'll have a quick look at what our safe working services assurance framework is, just to recap and provide some details on the self-performer authorisation process, the status we're currently at, what criteria that our organisations will have to meet, the process to apply and the timeframes that we're now looking at. So as we've discussed previously, our Safe Work Service Providers project is all about reducing the number of contracting organisations that we have currently. Currently got around 50 that provide safe working services to ARTC. So we're looking to create that panel of authorised safe working providers, and we're in the final stages of our panel evaluation at present, and that will be announced mid-June with a go live date at the 1st of July. On the right hand side, which is what we're here today to discuss, we have our self-performer organisations who with authorisation, who will have the opportunity to gain authorisation to use their in-house safe working employees. So we've devised our framework for the provision of safe working services, and under that sits two banners, our panel providers and our self-performer authorisation process. And that this process is a process for organisations with employed safe working resources to use these resources on contracts with ARTC. So there's some key fundamentals that we just want to reiterate for our self-performer process. To become a self-performer, you must directly employ the safe workers, so they must be underpaid, either permanent or part-time employment with the organisation. The safe workers that you employ must hold their primary RIW registration with that self-performer organisation. And we must only use the safe workers that they employ on contracts the self-performer holds with ARTC, where the contract contains a scope of works or services that requires that provision of safe working services, and that's in order to complete the broader scope of works that you've been engaged for. If required, you need additional safe working beyond those that are currently employed with your organisation. You will have to go to our safe working services panel. Now hand over to Richard.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Richard Tudor, a category manager at ARTC. What I'll take you through now is some scenarios to see what it means for you, or potentially means for you. So scenario one is where an organisation is currently tendering or quoting for works or services. So if this applies to you, please respond to our RFT or RFQ documents as set out in those documents. And we may at a later date seek to amend the RFT or RFQ documents during the tender period, or we may seek to change the contract during the negotiation phase or amend it after it's been signed. If we do that, it will be to incorporate the requirement to only use authorised organisations to provide safe working services from that key date of 1 July. Scenario two is where an organisation currently has a standing offer that includes the provision of safe workers. So from 1 July, ARTC will obtain these safe working services from the safe working services panels. So the impact on our existing base of standing offers will be for standing offers that are solely for the provision of safe working services, these will be terminated. If the standing offer includes the provision of safe working services as well as other services, then the scope, the contract will be amended to remove safe working services from their scope. In scenario three, this is where an organisation currently has a contract with ARTC that includes the provision of safe working services. What we'll do in this instance is seek to amend that contract to add the requirement to only use authorised organisations to provide safe working services. So you can expect that change coming through. For scenario four, and this is where an organisation currently employs safe workers and wants to continue to use those safe workers on contracts it has with ARTC. And those contracts will include, as Kath mentioned on the previous slide, the provision of safe working services as part of a broader scope of services. So if this applies to your organisation, then from 1 July, you'll need to become an authorised self-performer organisation. We'll tell you a bit more about that in the next few slides. Okay, so this slide's all about self-performer applications. So the self-performer authorization questions and the related work instruction have already been shared with organisations. So if you'd like these to be sent to you or resent to you, that's fine. Please contact SWIP at artc.com.au, and the details of that email address will be on our wrap-up communications from this session. The requirement to only use authorised providers of safe working services starts on 1 July, so you'll probably hear us say that a few times in this presentation, but it's important to reinforce that. If you're interested in applying to become an authorised self-performer, the application process will open week commencing 6th of June, and applications must be made via Iveta. If you require authorization by 1 July, so if the first day that the framework comes into effect, you'll need to submit your application no later than 17th of June. Otherwise, if your application isn't as time sensitive as that, then you can make an application at any time and generally expect a response within 4 weeks. Now, we appreciate these are challenging timelines, which again is why we've already shared the questions for the self-performer authorization process, as well as the work instruction.
Richard, I'm just going to interrupt here, and Kath, I'm very sorry, but we do actually have Peter Clements on the line now, and we would like to throw to Pete just for a few minutes, just to give an executive briefing if we can, a bit of an update. Just because he is constrained with time because he is out on site and travelling at the moment. So, Peter, I'm going to pass over to you.
Hello, I'm going to just do a sound check. Can you actually hear me this time?
Yes, we've got you, Peter.
Right, magic. So firstly, apologies to team for kind of a delayed appearance in the meeting. I'd like to think it was the technology. It was probably more likely to be me, so my apologies. I am, so I'm probably, well, so firstly, apologies also, I don't think I'm on video, again, due to the sort of challenges getting into the meeting. I do look forward to being able to connect with many of you going forward more directly. I've only been with ARTC for the last 6 weeks. I'm currently joining this call from Moree, so myself and ARTC's CEO, Mark Campbell, we're both out on site. We both attended pre-work briefings this morning at different sites in and around the Moree area. Doing a bit of work today with the joint venture team, a couple of meetings this afternoon, and we're just in the process of going through a sort of barbecue kind of and safety debrief from this morning's visit. I suppose the reason why I share that is probably should be a signal of ARTC's ongoing commitment to safety, no matter where you are and where you're working on the network or however you're engaged with ARTC. What's probably, I might just probably just share a little bit of my background. There might be some people on call that I do know. Many of you on the call I don't know. My background is I've joined ARTC from the last 7.5 years, heading up safety for the National Broadband Network. Prior to that was with John Holland, where I got some exposure to rail, and prior to that with Lend-Lease. I think, you know, on face value, the experience of NBN might look quite different to working in rail, but actually there's a lot of similarities, particularly in terms of, you know, the subcontracted nature of some of the work, the dispersed geographic spread across which the work takes place. And I think the challenges within an industry sector to push along the kind of improvement that we have ambition for, and that's where, and that's, you know, that's where I see that ARTC is taking an industry leading role, and we can't do it alone, and we need all the partner organisations and those within industry to align around, you know, our vision, which is to, you know, manage critical risk and mitigate the risk of train to track work collision, and ensure that, you know, those that are working on track are as safe as they possibly can be. So, you know, I've only been here 6 weeks. I look forward to learning more about our organisation, this industry, and what it is that we can do collectively to make sure that people go home safely every day. We need your support. I'm here really to support our team and to make sure that we continue the drive that has been pushed along for the last 2 years. There's still a fair way to go, and now I'm looking forward to being part of the journey. I do, unfortunately, I do have a hard stop. I don't really want to take up too much more of your time. I would say my apologies for the delayed entrance again, and with that, I might hand you back to the team.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. And I'll now jump our way through the rest of the slides, and we'll go back to talking about our Safe Working Service Providers system. And I think we just finished this slide with Richard, and and we were going to head on to this next slide with Richard. So take it away, Richard.
Yes, so thank you. Just previously covered off quick recap on some safe working, sort of self-performer and safe working scenarios, and the previous slide covered off on the application process. The purpose of this slide is to really focus in on the self-performer authorization questions, and I'll quickly take you through a summary of the information that applicants need to provide. So the first bit of information you need to provide is around key processes, and these are the key processes relating to fatigue management, assessing whether a worker is fit for work, how you mentor, how you verify competencies, your training, measuring performance, event reporting, records management, and self-audit. So they're pretty fundamental processes to become a self-performer organisation. The second question set will focus in on the key resources, and these are the resources that will be involved in the management of the safe workers and the adherence to the requirements of the self-performer authorization work instruction. The third question set will be finding more information about your existing safe workers. So we'll ask you to provide information about the safe workers you employ, noting that they must be employees, not casuals, as Kath pointed out, and they must have their primary RIW affiliation or registration with the applicant organisation. The fourth question set will be around the delivery of safe working services, and this will cover the activities that an applicant would plan to take prior to, during, and after the services themselves. It would also cover actions that you would take if there is an unplanned change of safe worker or an incident. The fifth set of information relates to safe working incidents, breaches, and regulator notices. What we're looking for you to do here is provide information or details of any of these that you've received, and also importantly of the details of any improvements that you've made as a result of these. And finally, we'll be asking you to provide information that will allow us to prioritise your application. So I'll be asking you to share which RFQs or which RFTs you're currently tendering for, or information about existing contracts. And this will allow us to prioritise your application and get back to you in a timely fashion. Next slide, please, Alice. Okay, so as we implement our Safe Working Services framework at ARTC, we're conscious there's going to be some changes in our business practices. We'll be updating our suite of contractual agreements as well as our RFT and RFQ documents so that we can incorporate the requirement to use authorised providers of safe working services as of 1 July. Existing relevant contracts and standing offers will either be granted a short grace period, or they'll be amended to incorporate the requirement to use authorised organisations to provide safe working services, or they'll be amended to, where appropriate, to remove the provision of safe working services from the scope, or they could be terminated, for example, if the agreement is solely for the provision of safe working services and that organisation from 1 July won't be an approved or an authorised provider of safe working services. Thank you, Alice. And I'll just pass back over to Kath.
So I guess some key takeaways and key actions that we want those organisations that are interested in becoming self-performers to do. If you can start prepping, as Richard said, we've got quite a tight timeline between now and 1 July. So if you could start prepping your self-performer application today, the questions and the work instruction documents will be available on our website, and we've already sent you the draft documents. If you can submit your application from the 6th of June, with the go live date being 1 July, we need the applications in by 17th of June to give us some adequate time to review and go through them. And if you've got any additional questions or concerns regarding the self-perform application, you can contact the SWIP team on swip@artc.com.au. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
Kath.
right.
Thanks, Kath.
We're now going to pass to Scott Chapman and Richard Clark for some questions.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Kath, and thanks, Alice. Sorry, Scott.
No, all good, Richard. Thank you, and thanks for people that have posted some questions. We may not be able to get through all of them today, but certainly the commitment will be what ones we don't get through we'll make available when we issue out the video of this, the recording of today, to the attendees. So I'll hand back to yourself, Richard, and we can work through what we can with the time we have left.
Yep. Thanks for that, Scott. Okay. Excuse me. The first question that we have received so far, I'll pass across to Nari. It came in when we were talking through the standardised application of track protection, which is, will ARTC consult safe working providers and experienced safe workers as part of this project? In addition to the current CAA process encourages poor behaviour, i.e. bottom up. Nari?
Absolutely. We don't do our job well as part of the project if we're not consulting all our stakeholder groups. And absolutely, I think the external is a very important stakeholder group. The CAA process is being looked at the moment and reviewed, not specific to this project. It does dovetail into this project, but it is being dealt with separately. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Nari. The next question that came in, I'll think will be passed across to Richard Tudor. It's 2 weeks is a very short implementation time frame. Provide a response to that, Richard, please.
So with regard to the self-performer approval process, we have the ability for organisations to start preparing their applications now, and we're confident that we can review and approve or otherwise and give feedback to unsuccessful applicants. With regard to the Safe Working Services panel tender, we're working that through as part of a formal tender evaluation process. We have our approval gates to go through. We envisage advising people around mid-June. If we can do that earlier, we will. ready for that 1 July go live.
Thanks for that, Richard. I think this next question may be coming to you also. It's for existing projects that already have an ARTC contract. How will the new panel implementation affect our currently engaged contractors if they aren't successful in getting onto the panel?
So if you hold an existing contract and that contract has includes safe working services as the part of the provision of a wider scope of services, what you can expect from ARTC from 1 July Act, and we'll be seeking to grant a short grace period to critical contracts that are hard to change, or we'll be seeking to amend those contracts to add the requirement to only use authorised safe working providers to provide safe working services. And that may mean if you need to change your contractor that you're planning to use if they're not an authorised safe working service provider by ARTC.
Thank you for that, Richard. And again, I think this is another question for yourself. If you are approved to be a self-performer, does this mean you're included upon ARTC's panel as a provider for other organisations to access?
I'm happy to take this.
Yeah, you can do if you like. Yeah.
So no. So if you can, as we said during the presentation, you can use your employed safe working resources for contracts that you hold for the jobs that you've been contracted to for ARTC. You can't lend those out to somebody else to use for ARTC. They have to come from the panel.
I think if you consider them as two separate groups of authorised providers, so you've got the panel members that can provide safe working services to ARTC, its contractors and third parties, and then you've got the safe working organisation, self-performer organisations, sorry, that can only provide safe working services they employ on contracts they hold. I'd summarise it.
Thank you, Kath. Richard. I think this next question links to that, so I'm not sure if Kath or Richard you'd like to take this one, but the question is, I am self-employed protection officer / track certifier. Will self-performer be my best fit, or will this rule me out altogether as working for myself?
I'll maybe take that one, Kath, and chip in if need be.
You just say that question again.
Certainly, Kath. Bear with me 1 second, I just published it. I am a self-employed protection officer / track certifier. Will self-performer be my best fit, or will this rule me out altogether as working for myself?
This will rule it out completely as you working for yourself, unless you want to, because you wouldn't have another contract with ARTC. So you're better off going to the panel.
Thank you,
so I think
Richard.
you'd need to establish a relationship with one of ARTC's panel members in order to work on the ARTC network as a safe worker in that instance.
Yeah, we won't be directly employing any track certifier or protection officers from companies that are not on the panel going forward.
Thank you for that, Kath. Richard. At the moment, we don't have any more questions that have come through. I'll just give it a few seconds just to see if there are any new questions. If not, I will move to a wrap up, and there is always the ability to submit questions after we've finished through the SWIP web address. Okay, there are no new questions coming in at the moment, so I think, Alice, if we move to the wrap up, please. Thank you. Okay, so just to wrap up today's external briefing, just wanted to reiterate some of the key takeouts. That is, the non-technical skills is a one-day program and will be available sort of the next financial year, and will be coming to our external partners from September onwards. The self-performer organisation process applications are expected to be open for submissions the week commencing the 6th of June 2022, with a go live date of the 1st of July, and applications must be submitted in a VETA. The track protection work is underway internally to ensure a consistent approach is taken, and as Nari said, when we are ready, we will make sure we are engaging more broadly. And a recording of today's briefing session will be emailed out to all attendees shortly. If you want more information we will be working on putting a website available, and also you can contact the SWIP team and myself through swip@artc.com.au. And I would like to thank everybody for attending the briefing today. I look forward to speaking to you again in the near future. Thank you.